You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 299. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, author of How to Get On Podcasts, the podcast matchmaker, and CEO and founder of the MLG Collective. I'm excited to share the stories and life lessons of changemakers and authors with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and today I have another amazing interview that I recorded live at the San Diego Writers Festival. My guest is Rachel Howzell Hall. That's a tongue twister. And she is a crime writer turned romantasy. Her book in December was a GMA book club pick, and she is absolutely amazing. She was such a fun treat to get to talk to, get to know. And I know that you're going to love hearing how she not only became a crime writer, but what that pivot into romantasy looked like, and how she kind of freaked out her husband while they were dating and he saw all of the crime books on her bookshelf. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so excited to be talking to you.
I'm excited to talk to you too.
And you are like a ray of sunshine with your yellow and just...
I chose yellow and white today because it's spring and I was counting on it being sunny and yeah.
It's perfect.
So, yeah.
It's perfect. And it fits you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself to everybody?
I am Rachel Howzell Hall and I am the author of, 13 books. And
just 13.
Yeah, no 13. That's all. And I'm a native of Los Angeles, and I'm here talking to you today.
I love it. And your books, which I stalked you, crime, mystery, and yet you were like so sweet. And yeah. I'm like, oh, there's a side to you.
Yes, crime, mystery, and I published my first Romantasy in December.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
And I've never been into like fantasy, romantasy, so.
It is fun, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, crime. Yeah, no, my husband and I, we've been married for 29 years. And I remember when we first dated and he walks into my little studio apartment after I'm reading bad prose to him. And he sees my library of poisons and how to murder and blah, blah, blah. And he's thinking, what am I about to get into? But he's still alive. So it was all for research. It's all for the books.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have a Wednesday series with Pie Lady Books, Steph Hawker-Smith.
I just saw that on Instagram.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's our Wednesday series. And we were talking last week about how she called it detoxing. And I'm like, I'm trying to get into meditation. I'm doing these things. And she goes, oh, I love British crime, mystery, thrillers. Ooh. That's how she relaxes.
Well, at noon, when I take lunch from my day job, because I still have a day job, I watch IDTV. So all the murder, true crime shows, that's how I wind down. Yeah. When I just need white noise, Forensic Files. Yeah.
Y'all are just a incredible species.
Yes. But the thing about it, I can't look at it at night because I take things into my sleep. And I can't even watch Black Mirror, like weird sci-fi shows, because I take it into my sleep and I have weird dreams. So there's only, I go to bed every night. I get in bed at 9:17 every night. 9:17 because I get up at 4:00 to write. And I get ready to bed, my iWatch tells me 8:35 is time to get ready. So by the time you wash your face, brush your teeth, do whatever to your hair, it's 9:17. And I watch Golden Girls every night. So I go to sleep.
I love it. I had it on last night in the hotel.
It's timeless.
Sophia was getting married, and I was like, I don't remember Sophia getting married.
Yes, to Max. I am a Golden Girls fanatic. Like, we brought our daughter up on Golden Girls.
Have you been by the house in LA?
I have not been by the house in LA, but I've been
just outside of Brentwood. I didn't know. I lived in Brentwood for a while, and it's literally like up the street off Sunset.
What? I'm going to have to find it because, I've done drag brunch, a Golden Girls drag brunch, and I have Monopoly Golden Girls and cups and all the rest of it, but I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
So Google that and then go.
Because I know they tore down Betty White's house. To build one of those ugly little McMansion things.
Yeah.
But I'm going to find the Golden Girl.
Yeah.
But so that's how I go to sleep, because I can't have like murder stuff on my, at least in my twilight going to sleep.
It brings up so many questions. What do you do for your day job?
I am a writer at a huge medical institution in Los Angeles, California. And right now more than ever, my skill is needed. I am a fundraising writer. So I write proposals and reports and executive communications and, raise money for research and patient care.
And you're busy and probably just about to get busier.
Yeah, I am. Nonsense. And it's sad because a lot of what we do and what we're committed to is, being a blessing to people. Mm-hmm. And part of that is doing research and patient initiatives that, affect people of color and women and specific populations that are now like the bad words on that list of words that you can't say. Mm-hmm. And so now more than ever, we need private donors to help fund these very, very important life-saving things. And so, yes, my skill is needed as, my day job or proposal writing thing. Yeah.
So let's go back to, where did this begin with all the writing? Obviously, you like to write because it's what you do for your day job. Yes. How did you become a novelist in addition to that? Mm-hmm. And what does that look like?
I'm so like most writers, I've always loved books. And it was third grade, and this is a California thing probably, but maybe all of us. Third grade, we all read Anne Frank, the Diary of Anne Frank. And every third grade girl probably thought, oh, my life may be just as interesting. Let me start a diary. And so I actually, my special teacher, back then we had gifted and talented classes, right? You get taken out of class, do all these enrichment things. And my teacher then, she got me my first fabric covered journal. And she took me and this other boy who was in the program to lunch in Beverly Hills. And across from us was Bruce Jenner. He was Bruce Jenner then.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who she was, but I called her Elvis Presley's ex-wife. It was Priscilla Presley.
Okay.
And so I'm like journaling all this and being aware of what I'm eating and all the different kind of cars that are in Beverly Hills right now. And that was the first time that I started actually kind of paying attention to everything around me. And I grew up in an area in Los Angeles that was, if you've seen Training Day with Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke.
Long time ago.
Yeah, that was my neighborhood. I grew up on that street, on Santa Tomas and Nicolette, basically. And so my family, we were very aspirational. My parents had, we were smart kids. And so they were constantly looking for things to do for us. Like I took art and other classes at USC, for instance. So economically, this is where we could afford to live. But my parents were very much interested in getting us away from there and, making us think and discover. And so my parents knew that I liked books. And so they fed me books and they fed me journals and got me pens and all the rest of it. And I went to UC Santa Cruz and majored in book club. And they weren't shocked at that. But
book club was a major?
No, it was English American literature.
I'm like, that's amazing. My stepdaughter goes to UC Santa Cruz. I'm like, if that was a major, like she would be there.
Right.
I would like get another degree.
Yes. Folks.
Yeah.
Which I hated initially because this was 1988 and there was no internet. So I just saw the pretty brochures and I saw Lucille Clifton, the poet, was a professor there and I wanted to go there. And I didn't want to be cold because I'm a child of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go to Berkeley because it was too big. So Santa Cruz was it. And that first year it was clothing optional. And the people that, you want to see naked aren't. So the people that
nude beaches. Oh yeah.
But, coming from Los Angeles, what did I do? Why am I here? And it was miserable that first year, but I'm glad I went because I got to read. It was like an introduction to like so many marginalized writers. But so I went there and I never thought though that I could write because back then in the 80s and early 90s, Black writers were James Baldwin, Richard Wright, Toni Morrison, Allison Walker. And what I had to say didn't match anything that they were saying. And so I didn't think it was for me. It wasn't until my first real college job with Penn Center USA West, which is a part of Penn American Center, that I actually saw writers writing contemporary fiction. I saw Black writers writing Black stories and Los Angeles stories. And that's when it's like, oh, I can do this too. And so I started writing my first novel, and that was published on the first anniversary of 9/11. Yay for me, writing a story about, a Black family dealing with bipolar disorder on the first anniversary of 9/11. What could go wrong? But, I persevered.
12 more came out after.
Right. So 30s was hard because 30s are hard. That's when, you're just trying to have a family and you're buying a house and,
you're still figuring yourself out. I feel like that's when you get your voice kind of, and then you hit 40 and you use it.
And 33. So my first book was published and it had great reviews, but, this is the time where there's this surge of Black urban literature and with a very East Coast vision of what Black people were. And that's, everything like Chicago or Philly or Harlem. And a story about a Black family in Los Angeles with the perfect sky and palm trees, it didn't do as well. And, and also the added bonus of it being the first anniversary of 9/11. But I couldn't get another book deal. It was very hard for me. And I still have the letters that said my voice wasn't urban enough, that it wasn't Black enough. And this is East Coast because, East Coast gets to dictate what a Black writer's voice is, first of all, and then an LA voice. This is what they said. And in that same time, though, I was growing up. When I was pregnant with our daughter, I was 33. And I was diagnosed with this weird, random, rare breast cancer. And, here I am, 33, dealing with this while pregnant, but I kept writing. Writing was like my therapy. Writing was a place where I could control. And I was still trying to get, a book deal. My first agent, bless her, she tried to sell that second book. She couldn't. And so we broke up. And, writers always think about breaking up with agents and thinking it's the end. It wasn't the end, obviously, but it hurt. And I kept writing and kept experiencing life. And I kept going on and on and on and writing and writing. And my daughter was born and she was healthy, thank God. And then I had another scare. And that's when at 37 years old, I said to myself, well, what is it that I want to do before I die? Because at this point, we're talking about my mortality. UCLA saved my life and saved my baby's life. And they put me in the high risk program because my body likes making tumors. And so thinking about my mortality and dealing with, cancer care and dealing with the scariest thing ever, right? I said, well, there are two things I want to do before I get out of here. I want to buy a Mercedes Benz. And, coming from Los Angeles and car culture, I want a Benz. I want a Benz because I had planned for that to be my 50-year birthday gift to myself. But it's like, well, I may not make it to 50. So I'm going to get my Benz now. And the second thing is like, well, I want to write the story I want to write. And at that time, Waiting to Excel had come out and Walter Mosley's Devil in a Blue Dress had come out. And I said, I want to write a story of a cop that's like Devil in the Blue Dress meets Waiting to Excel. And so I wrote it. I wasn't a cop. I wasn't, even in the realm of, law enforcement or anything, but I had done the scary thing, and that was to survive this cancer battle while being pregnant. And so I wrote it and I shopped it and I got an agent who absolutely loved it. And I got a publisher who loved it. And it was the first of my Lou Norton series. And that was 2014. It was published. And I've been writing ever since. So, and that book that I couldn't sell, I didn't know how to write it back then. It was a story about motherhood and, sacrifice and all this. And I hadn't been a mother yet. And it took me being a mom and going through all the cancer stuff and knowing what loss is for me to finally understand what I was trying to say. And so I took that second book that I couldn't sell and I used it to write And Now She's Gone, which was published by Forge and was the first time I was nominated for a Los Angeles Times Book Prize. So books never die. No. You know, you just don't know how to write them yet. You haven't lived enough to gain the wisdom that's required for that specific story. Yeah. And I learned then that no story is ever dead. You just need to figure out what it is that you don't know to write it. So yeah.
I love that. And you're healthy, yes?
I am healthy.
Good.
Yes, I have great health care. I have a family that loves me. I am fearless in some ways because, again, I did the scary thing. Yeah. And, you know, I'm blessed to have a great job that understands the need for work-life balance because I believe in that. Jobs are jobs, and your family and what you do that you love, those are the important things because as we see right now, a job can let you go tomorrow. And if you gave everything up for it, yeah, you'd have nothing. Yeah. So do that thing that you love. And I tell my daughter that all the time. Do that thing that you love. If it happens to be your job, great. But do that thing that you love and look up and around and travel and do marvelous things and meet great people. Because sometimes that part of your life will be taken away from you without you doing anything wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
I tell my kids, I'm like, I wish that I could go back in time, but with the brain and the knowledge that I have today, because then I would totally do things differently. Yeah. I wouldn't stay in the corporate job as long as I did.
But you get to tell them that.
Right. Because I know it.
Right. And you have the proof. It's like, I can say these things to you because I lived it and here's my experience. So yeah, no, my daughter's seeing, you know, me still working, you know, being her mom, being a wife, being a daughter. I still get to be Rachel, the girl who went to school for book club. You know, I
love that. I'm going to use that. That is the best
because
terminology.
That's who I am. That's, you know, my parents knew that Christmas when I didn't get the books I wanted and I cried. That makes sense. That was on brand. I loved books that much that my parents, you know, bless them. They had, you know, we were working class, but my mom loved Christmas. And so she got us all these like cool things that she came up with in her imagination. And I'm crying because I don't even remember what book it was that I wanted that I didn't get. And I cried on Christmas because I didn't get the book. Oh. So when, you know, the last one, my Romantasy, was selected for Good Morning America for the December book club pick, I took her with me to New York because
that's no big deal.
Right.
Just, no big deal. Just,
but, you know,
GMA book club. Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah.
You know, as one does.
Yeah, all the time.
But, you know, she remembers that I cried that Christmas and that it was a book that I was crying over. But now her sacrifice and my father's sacrifice, I'm now on this show that she's seen other writers be on that show. She's watched Good Morning America all her life. And now here we are. You know, the girl who cried over a book is now a book club selection. So it's been quite a journey. And I'm glad that I can demonstrate and show that to my daughter who, you know, she has love outside of her college courses and whatever career she's going to choose, that she gets to be who she wants. It's been done before. You've seen me wake up at 4:00 every morning to write. You can do it. You may be a little tired, but you can do it.
It's worth the sacrifice.
It's worth the sacrifice. Yeah.
And a lesson to every parent out there: when they ask for a book, you just buy the book.
Buy the book.
Buy the book. It's the one thing that my kids know. If they ask for a book, they know that they get it.
Oh, it's awful.
Ask for anything else, and I'm like, I don't know. Oh, you want a book? Yeah, it'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Books and the journals. It's like my daughter has like countless journals and books and pens because I love those too.
Yeah. All over the house. They're everywhere. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I want to talk about Romantasy.
Yeah.
Because that's so not crime.
No, it is not.
And is it like spicy?
It is out of if there's and there is a rating of like 3 jalapenos or whatever the hell. It's maybe a 2. I still see. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, and I'm very aware of, you know, going to hell. My mom reads my stuff, and I was like, how far can I go without feeling awful? So it's very artful. No, it's been an incredible experience writing Romantasy, and I said yes because of the opportunity. The publisher of Entangled 2 years ago launched Red Tower. And she asked a few mid-career writers like me who had some success, but we weren't like huge. She asked if I was interested in, helping her launch this new imprint. And I knew who she was, Liz Peltier. And she discovered, Sandra Mass and Jennifer Armentrout. She's a queen maker. And I want to be a queen. So
you are. I'll stop you there. You are.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
But I also had that part of me that likes, one, I never say no. Because that opportunity that I said no to could have been the thing. And I also like learning. I love writing. I really, really love writing. And I like learning new tricks. And so it's like, yes, I will do this. I don't know what a romantasy is, but I'm going to learn. Fortunately, I'm a gamer. I love video games. So I was playing at the time when she asked, Witcher 3, Fallout 4, maybe for the 5th time, Elden Ring, which I gave up on. So I was a gamer. So I was very familiar with fantasy. The romance part was going to be a little harder for me because I write crime,
right.
Crime scenes, not sex scenes. And so being of the Gen X, we had great romances. And my favorite was Dave and Maddie from Moonlighting. I like that kind of bickering back and forth. And Sam and Rebecca and Sam and Diane from Cheers. Yeah. And so I turned to that. And I also turned to, back in the 90s, there's this whole Black erotica thing going on in publishing. And so I had my books still, and I pulled those out. And so I'm doing all this reading of romance, and then all the formal stuff I read as an English American literature major, Chaucer and Dante, and all the mythologies, and all of that went into everything that I wrote for the Romantasy. And it's called The Last One. And it's a duology, so 2 stories from one point of view and 2 stories from the other. And it's been a blast because not only do I get to talk about those things that concern me still, politics, sociology, all of it, I still get to do some crime and mystery stuff in there. I have some red herrings, and I have villains, and I have morally great characters. Like I get to do everything that I love, but with more words. So it was hard learning how to do it, and I'm still learning because I'd never written a romantasy before. There is no trunk novel of mine that is a romantasy. Whereas, with crime and mystery, I have all kinds of stories that I haven't published because I've been doing this for a while. So, readers are getting to see me kind of flail about and learn how to do this thing. But it's been a wonderful, wonderful learning experience, and I'm getting to meet more readers than I've ever met before. And, we get to go on Good Morning America and talk about, my book, which is an incredible thing. And the book is gorgeous. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but
only online. Yeah.
It has the sprayed edges, and it has a gorgeous heart case, and the cover is embossed and stamped, and it's like gorgeous. It really is. And it just serves as inspiration to me to write, a big, beautiful story.
I love that you've jumped genres because, you talk to some authors who are like, no, this is my lane and I stay in it. And sometimes that's the advice that you're given as an author. Yeah. And my book is nonfiction. I'm like, the next one, no, it's going to be like a novel. I don't know. Why would I stay? I can only talk about podcasts so much.
Right. Right.
So I don't think you have to stay in your lane. And you're the perfect example.
Yes. And I'm still writing crime fiction. I actually have, my next, my procedural comes out in July. And this next romantasy in the series comes out in August, and I'm writing them in tandem. And yes, it's exhausting, but I'm loving it, and I'm learning how to be a better writer. I'm learning how to write more commercially, which is helpful. And I'm just, the more readers that find you, they cross-pollinate themselves. And like, oh, well, I like this, so maybe I'll like that.
Exactly.
So that's what we want. We want more people to read our stuff.
Okay, let's talk about your husband because since he was afraid when you were doing all the crime stuff, what's he think about now?
He's excited.
I bet.
Yeah. No, again, from listening to me read my stories in my studio apartment in downtown Los Angeles, and then going to Tommy's for a burger, and now seeing this happen for me. He is thrilled for me. He has always encouraged me. He was the one, because at that point, especially, he was making way more than me because he worked in entertainment. And, I always said, as a nonprofit writer, I do the good, he makes the money. And so he invested in my career. He'd send me to conferences and Writers Police Academy and all these things, and the books that I couldn't publish because no one was buying them. He helped me self-publish them and did my covers. And, he just was there supporting me, saying, it'll happen. It'll happen. He's, held me in our kitchen when I've cried because of, not getting a deal or someone saying something awful to me online or just feeling frustrated. I mean, being a writer can be a frustrating, lonely thing. Mm-hmm. And working so hard is, so he's been there. And so he gets to see and experience, all the fruit of our labor, because he has been there right by my side, designing my website and taking care of our kid when I'm off, trying to write. And so he's happy for me, because what makes me happy makes our kid happy and blesses her. And that makes our family unit, happier. We're in a better place economically than many of our friends who are suffering because they too are in entertainment, and entertainment right now is having a very hard time. Mm-hmm. And he's, as a fellow creative, he is happy that I'm getting to share what I think and to do it in a way that I'm comfortable. He appreciates that, and he's happy for me personally as a fellow creative.
I love it. It's a true partnership.
It is a true partnership. And there's a moment, and I said this earlier, that, I have a lot of books. We have a lot of books, and they're like stacked and double stacked. And he has this whole kind of section of his books that I would squint at and just covet, because it's like, I have real books, and I didn't consider his books real books until I started writing Romantasy. And I went to his section, and he has the art of Zelda, the art of Batman, all these fantasy books, because he is a geek. And it's like writing Romantasy, I needed all those books to help me visualize that thing that I was now writing. And so his geekdom has come in handy.
Yay!
Finally.
Yay!
Yay!
So a true team effort.
Right?
I
I'm
love
gonna
it.
let him keep his books in there, because
so kind of you.
Yeah, it's like, oh, do you have a book on creatures? And he actually had a book on creatures, because I needed to create these creatures for my realm. And he had them all right there. So yeah, after 29 years,
he finally came through.
He came through.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You're so funny. So we know you've got books coming out in July and August.
Yes.
So that'll keep you busy for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then are you already working on the next? Of course you are.
I am. And it's hard. And I love it though, because especially with crime, unfortunately and fortunately, I'm going to be writing forever, because people are just awful. And I have to write about it, and I have to be worried about it and figure out how to get all those things that I worried about in these pages. And with Romantasy, I'm still taking some of those issues like identity and politics, and I'm building those into my world too. So yes, I'm going to be busy until probably 2040.
Good.
Yay.
Good. And then you can keep coming on GMA, although this is so much more fun because it's longer.
It is. And that was the thing. That's so awful. And this was with anything, how you think about vacations, and it takes forever for the vacation to come, and then it's there and then it's over.
Yeah.
And that's how GMA felt, where once I finally accepted that they actually wanted my book for December's pick, and I didn't believe it at first. I had to actually be on the plane for me to say, okay, I'm actually going to New York now, and it's actually going to happen. But it was over so quickly. Yeah. Oh my God, it was over so quickly.
It's like a wedding. It's like anything you plan for. Yeah. And then poof, that was it. Now what do we do?
Yeah. I go home now to the litter box and laundry. What kind of life is this? And that's the life of a writer, right? Where you come to conferences and you're signing books, and then you're back, and the dishes need to be washed, and the laundry's crawling the walls, and they're bills.
Yeah.
But that's what we
We're just regular old people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love you. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy we connected, and we're friends.
Yeah.
We're gonna exchange phone numbers now.
Yes, we are.
Up level. For any of you that are authors out there, I hope you really caught on to the fact that you don't need to stay in your own lane when it comes to genre. You can always pick a different one, choose something that you want to write about, because that is how the best books are created and written. I encourage you to go see Rachel if you're down at the Los Angeles Times Book Festival, because she will be there. Go check out her novels, follow her on Instagram, and say hi.